And there's only one fight on the card that may be even better than the co-main event, Uncle Weezy, and we are going to talk about it right now, everybody. Make sure you smash that like button here. This is Pub Sports Radio. We got over 200 live viewers hanging out with us right now, so thank you so much for hanging out with us here for this fight. Next up, main event, Charles "Du Bronx" Oliveira taking on none other than Islam Makhachev. What a fight. Folks, this is the big one. We have been talking about this fight in hushed tones for years. Charles Oliveira has gone from being the kid who we called a quitter, a kid that we took every opportunity to fade, to being on a ridiculous win streak and finishing some of the best, most well-known names the division has ever seen. Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler, Tony Ferguson, Justin Gaethje. This man has answered every single question and then some, and came back for more. His opponent, Islam Makhachev, is the heir to the throne that Khabib left empty, the only undefeated UFC fighter to actually retire on top and hang it up before he took that loss. Has christened this man the next champion. The second eagle is what they called him on the Embedded series. Islam Makhachev has been coming for this opportunity for years. 22-1. This is it, folks. UFC 280 is the most stacked card of 2022, and we've been waiting for this fight. Weezy, I cannot wait to break it down with you. I'm going to let you lead, Weezy. There have got to be numbers. There have got to be stats. There's got to be things to say that haven't been said, because we all know about the finishing prowess of Charles Oliveira. We all know about him bringing in an Iranian wrestler. We all know about Islam Makhachev. We know about Khabib. We know about Abdulmanap Father's plan. Tell us the numbers, Weezy. How do you see this fight breaking down from a statistical standpoint?
Okay, so Oliveira, 4-inch reach advantage. We like that. He's a couple years older than Islam. It's a southpaw versus orthodox matchup. Both power weapons are going to be open for both guys on the feet. Oliveira, more experience, about 19 more professional fights, about 70 more minutes in the pro cage, 18 more fights at the UFC level, 100 more minutes in the UFC cage. And we got Charles Oliveira, who has got a ridiculous 90% finish rate at the UFC level. And as a pro, it's a 91% finish rate. But he's also been finished in 7 of his 8 losses as a pro, and 7 of his 8 losses at the UFC level. So Islam is a guy who we can count on to wrestle and to win minutes in the wrestling. 52% control time for, only 9% control time allowed. He's out takedowning his opponents 25-2. He's got 88% takedown defense. And Charles Oliveira, 41% on his takedowns, which is excellent, but it's 66% for Makhachev. And even though, Oliveira gets 30% control time in his own right, he's giving up 27% control time, and he's showing only 57% takedown defense. He's not going to get his takedown defense to the point in one fight camp where he's going to be stopping Islam. I really hope Charles wins this fight, right? But when you put them up category by category, right, you say, okay, yeah, I do like Charles in the striking exchanges here, but how likely is it that this fight's going to take place in the striking exchanges at all, where Charles has got more power on the feet, where he's got a 4-inch reach advantage, where he's going to be more comfortable than Islam? It's very unlikely, because Islam is so good at taking the fight to where he wants it. And if it means he needs to be on the ground and worrying about the submissions of Charles Oliveira, I still think that he would be better there than on the feet, because one of the things that Islam does so well is he's not really wrestling so much in the middle of the cage. He's got a part of your body up against that cage, which limits your ability to be able to hunt for submissions that actually have a chance of landing. So as much as I want Oliveira to win this, as much as I think he's the way more exciting fighter, the way more marketable fighter, the fighter I like more, I think Islam is the smart side here. He's the much better minute winner. And if we look at Charles Oliveira's ability to be able to stop takedowns and get back up and threaten with submissions while he's on the fence. I just really think we're going to see Islam win this one, win it by submission. The fight doesn't go to decision feels like a great parlay piece here because Oliveira's fights finish inside the distance 90% of the time, and that's over a 42-fight sample size. And we can even add to that fact, Clint, that Charles Oliveira's never even seen a fourth or a fifth round in his entire career. So feel free to parlay up that fight doesn't go. The pick is going to be Islam Makhachev to win it by submission inside the distance. But, man, this fight, I can't wait for this fight. These are two of the best mixed martial artists on planet Earth.
It's so good, Weezy. It's so good. I cannot wait for this fight. Quite frankly, folks, I am taking a strong stance on this fight. I refuse to pick a side. I have been wrong on Charles Oliveira for the last 5 years. Cannot get the kid right. The only time I've picked a Charles Oliveira fight correctly is when he faced Jared Gordon, who's the only other guy I wanted to fade more than him. So I don't have a good read on Charles do Bronx Oliveira. And what you can count on, maybe even more than death taxes and Caitlin Chukagian by decision, what you can count on is when I am wrong on a fighter 9 out of 10 times, trying to fade them, and then I jump on them, I'm wrong. I'm dead wrong. Every time that happens, I want to jump on Charles Oliveira so badly right now, Weezy. I want to back Charlie O in this spot. Making the seeded champion an underdog is blasphemous in my opinion. That's something you simply cannot do. At worst, it needs to be a pick 'em price tag because this guy showed us just how damn good he is. He's beaten everybody the UFC has put in front of us. How in the hell is he an underdog? But I completely understand Islam Makhachev. I understand the Russian coast. I understand the relentless grappling. I have talked about how when you get a wrestler versus a jiu-jitsu player, the wrestler simply wins with top position. That's how it happens. The jiu-jitsu guy eventually accepts that bottom position. A lifetime of Dagestani wrestling cannot be made up for in one camp, Weezy. Now, I know Charles has had his eyes on Khabib and he's had his eyes on Islam for years. So it's not like he's only been working wrestling for this one camp, but there's just levels to this shit. You can't make up that difference in such a short amount of time. I do have questions about Islam Makhachev. I have questions about his chin. He is not Khabib, folks. He has been reversed. He's been taken advantage of in some grappling exchanges. Thiago Moises reversed this kid, took his back, and had his neck very early in that fight. That's a situation that I cannot turn a blind eye to. I absolutely think that Charles Oliveira is capable of doing that and more in this spot. So I don't feel comfortable backing a chalky favorite who has a much more questionable resume. You're betting on the unknown with Islam Makhachev coming up against this caliber of an opponent. But I get it. 21-1, Khabib's second coming. How could you not love this guy? I think this fight is so good, Uncle Weezy, that I simply do not want to put money on it. I want to enjoy it as a fan. I have confirmed with Superbook Sports. Obviously, guys, I try to give you every piece of information I possibly can. So anytime they're good or their respected bettors roll in and put money down, I pass that information along to you. Their best guy bet Islam Makhachev. They have respected sharp action on Islam Makhachev. So that's something that I personally never want to be in the line of fire for. It doesn't end well when I go head-to-head with that guy, whoever he may be. God bless you out there. So I am leaning to Charles Oliveira, but the way everything lines up, that tells you you should be smashing Islam Makhachev because I want to back do Bronx here in this spot. Now, I'm not entirely convinced that Islam is going to finish Charles Oliveira because I don't think you're submitting Charles Oliveira, quite frankly. Ground and pound, maybe. But I also think that Charles Oliveira has gotten rid of the quit that we used to see him very early on in his fight. He doesn't pull that shit anymore. He is literally willing to die in the cage. And the way he'll scramble and roll and attack, I think it's going to take almost everything Islam's got to control him on the mat. I don't think this is going to be a one-sided beating. So I do think Islam Makhachev wins, but frankly, if I was going to play the total Weezy, I think I'd be looking at the over. I'm going to pick Islam. Maybe a late finish, maybe decision. That's going to be the pick. Folks, my money is going nowhere near this fight. you can make the argument, Weezy, for both of these men that if they win, you will never get that line again. You're never seeing plus money again on Charles Oliveira unless Khabib comes out of retirement to avenge Islam Makhachev's honor. You're never getting minus 175 on Islam Makhachev again if he wins here against Charles do Bronx Oliveira, because he's going to mow down the rest of the division without any type of a problem. And when you've got that argument happening on both sides, I don't want to be on the wrong side. I simply don't want to be stuck there with the ticket in my hand going, yeah, I guess it was always Islam. Well, no shit, Charles Oliveira was going to tap him out. Like, you just, it's one of those ones where you look like a fool no matter what side you end up being on. So God bless you. Folks, if you get out there and you've got a strong opinion and cash a ticket on this fight, I'm rooting for you. I hope you make money. I want you to win and fill your pockets. Not me. There's other spots on this card I'm more interested in, Weezy.
I couldn't agree more, man. There's other spots that I'm willing to smash, but this is such a high-level fight, and it's such an intriguing fight that it's easy to say, you know what, I'm going to step back and just watch it. I'm emotionally invested anyway. These are fantastic fighters, and I can't wait to see how this one plays out. I can't wait to see how somebody with the striking prowess and the Brazilian jiu-jitsu game of Oliveira matches up against somebody with that incredible control time pedigree that Islam Makhachev has. You know, it's such a great fight. I'm picking Makhachev to win it. I think he gets it done inside the distance, and I've got a 5-unit max bet on the fight doesn't go to decision, which I got at minus 172. Ooh. So minus 172 is ridiculous for a 5-round fight where we've never seen Oliveira even enter a 4th round, and the guy fights like he's triple parked, you know, and both of these guys are finishers of the highest order. I really believe that this one's going to finish inside the distance.
Now, Weezy, real quick here. I did say that I lean towards the over on this one. Superbook Sports is not currently hosting an over. I am going off the blanket assumption that this is a 2.5. What's the total on this fight?
The total on the 2.5 is right now minus 165 for the under and plus 135 for the over on Bet Online. Now, there's a few different lines on this one. They're all over the place. You could get as good as minus 143 for the under, and you can get as good as plus 135 for the under. But even the under, they're saying that there's about a 45% chance that this finishes under, or I'm sorry, it's about a 60% chance that this finishes under 2.5 rounds, according to the lines right now.
Okay. So I'm just glad it's not like sitting at 4.5 or something. So I do lean to the over 2.5 at plus money, quite frankly, but I'm going to concede to the fact that I do think this fight finishes. So round 3, 4, and 5, I think it exceptionally scary. And I do think this fight does not go the distance. So I don't mind the violence bet there whatsoever, Weezy.